Footage has emerged today of Khabib Nurmagomedov getting into a dispute with a flight attendant on an Alaska Airlines flight, which resulted in him being removed from the plane. Khabib was reportedly departing from Las Vegas and arriving in LA for the beginning of UFC 311 fight week. Khabib was sitting in an emergency exit row, and the flight attendant said they felt uncomfortable with Khabib's English speaking skills in regards to his ability to assist other passengers in case of an emergency. At one point, the flight attendant gave Khabib an ultimatum. She said he could either move his seat, or if not, she would call her supervisor and have him escorted off the plane. Khabib insisted that he remained in his seat, but eventually got up and exited the plane. Let me know what you guys think of the footage in the comments.
Because I know the language.
It's not about the language.
I know how to help you. And now you guys, because this woman don't understand what she's talking.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're either gonna have you switch your seat because my flight attendants are not allowing you to sit in that sit row, or you're gonna have to get off this plane and then we'll have to because they're not comfortable with sitting in the emergency exit row. My flight attendants. And unfortunately, it is fair.
It's not fair.
Yes, it is.
You guys, when I was checking, they asked me, do I know English? Yes, I said.
And they said yes. I understand that, but it's also off of their judgment. I'm not gonna do this back and forth. I will call a supervisor. You can either take a different seat, or we can go ahead and escort you off the plane. Which one are we doing? Okay, I'll call a supervisor, and then we're gonna have to rebook you for a different flight. Josh, do you copy?
It's alright. Do you have any luggage?
Belal Muhammad reacted to that footage. On X, he wrote he could have threw everyone off the plane and flew it himself if he wanted. Chris Curtis lost to Roman Kopylov via TKO in the third round last night. The fight was stopped with 1 second left, and Curtis was furious over the stoppage. Kopylov landed a head kick which appeared to rock Curtis. He was trying to get back up to his feet, however the fight was stopped. Curtis posted this to his Instagram after the fight. He's debating moving back down to welterweight. In the caption, he wrote, "Only job in the world where you can make $200K in a night and still be absolutely heartbroken and questioning where you go from here. No damage, I'm fine. Probably train tomorrow for my sanity, but just frustrated and heartbroken. 8 months off, hamstring tear, broken foot, and then a calf tear. Trained through it all. Never lost sight of the goal. Just hurts to come up short. Thank you to everyone who reached out. I've had a lot of love online and in person. It means the world to me. I guess I should take some comfort in fight of the night, but I only view tonight as a failure. Maybe 170 is the way to go from here. Rest this weekend, and I guess we have to have a talk with the team and management about what comes next." Daniel Cormier reacts to Bo Nickal's recent comments regarding Khamzat Chimaev. Bo recently said that if he fought Khamzat would not be able to take him down because Bo believes he's the much better wrestler. DC begs to differ. DC reflects on his past fights with John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, and Anthony Rumble Johnson, and how he was taken down by all three of them, despite DC being an Olympic wrestler. DC explains how MMA wrestling is much different, and since Khamzat is much more experienced than Bo in MMA, he may actually hold the wrestling advantage.
In theory, when you're the better wrestler, you expect to be able to control the wrestling. In reality, it's not as clear a line to define as one would think. I was that because I came over as the Olympian, the guy that could out-wrestle anybody, and I could. I would have beat John Jones 10-0. I would have beat Alexander Gustafsson 10-0, no problem. Yet, they both took me down. Because at the end of the day, in MMA wrestling, it's not just about shooting double legs, single legs, high crotches, and snap downs. It's also clinch wrestling, clinch positioning, learning to wrestle along the octagon side, defending takedowns against the octagon. I got taken down by Rumble. I got taken down by Jones. I got taken down by Gustafsson. I don't know that those guys can score a takedown on me if we put on wrestling shoes and we stood in the middle of the mat in the wrestling stance. Nobody in the country did for 6 years. But inside of an octagon is different. So in theory, what Bo Nickal is saying is true. But in reality, Khamzat Chimaev, the more experienced guy inside the cage, honestly may hold the wrestling advantage, just knowing how to wrestle in there. One area that would give me a little bit concerned if you're Team Chimaev is that most of his shots are from distance. Those will not work against Bo Nickal. Shots from the outside, like he did against Robert Whittaker, like he did against Gilbert Burns, where he just kind of level changes and explodes in the guys, that won't work against Bo Nickal. When I got taken down by Jones, when I got taken down by Rumble, it was always against the octagon side from the clinch, level change, put him down. Because in the open, you can defend all day as the wrestler. But my question to you is, what happened? What gave him this new confidence to where he is so assertive in his thoughts? I like it.
Islam Makhachev admits that he made a lot of mistakes in his fight against Dustin Poirier. Islam fought Dustin this past June and won via submission in the 5th round. Despite the mistakes, Islam says it's a fight that he enjoys rewatching. Islam also previews his upcoming rematch with Arman Tsarukyan next week at UFC 311 and says although he won their first fight, he may have underestimated Arman. Islam said last time, I was fight with Poirier. He prepared for this fight very well. He did good homework, I think. He defended my wrestling, I did a lot of mistakes. I did a Kimura and when I closed it, I think it's finished. But I did a mistake a couple times and he gave me a big cut. But when I watch the highlights, I like this fight. If you ask me which fight I want to watch again, I say with Poirier. I watched this fight many times and I enjoy. I know what I did wrong, what I did right, what I have to change. On Arman, Islam continued when I fought him the first time. Honestly, maybe I underestimated him. They were looking for an opponent. 1 month before they call me, we'll sign this guy. He has a good record. He'll be your next opponent. In my mind, I thought, who is going to come from outside the UFC and give me some problems? I didn't watch his fighting. He came and we had a very good fight. I won all 3 rounds, but right now, he's improved a lot. He has more experience in the UFC, a lot of fights in UFC, but if you ask me, I'm honest. I see his style, I see his skills. I don't see something that makes me surprised. He has good wrestling, I have same, I have better than him. He has striking, I have better than him. He has grappling, I know my grappling is better. But this time, it's not going to be an easy match for sure. He's number 1 right now. He's a guy who makes me work hard because he's a real contender. Henry Cejudo was just recently booked to fight Song Yadong at UFC Seattle in February. Tim Welch gave his take on the fight and believes there's a high possibility that this is Henry's final fight in the UFC. Tim thinks Song might really beat him up. Henry is 37 years old and currently coming off 2 losses. He lost to Aljamain Sterling via split decision back in May of 2023. Henry then lost to Merab Dvalishvili via unanimous decision in February last year.
Well, Song Yadong and versus Cejudo got announced. I feel like there's a high percentage chance that is Henry Cejudo's last fight because that's a tough fight. I think Song Yadong is number 8, Henry's number 7. That's probably really the only option or the highest ranked guy the UFC offered him, and he took the fight. And I think it's looking like it's going to be 5 rounds. The main event for Seattle probably going to be pretty sick. Actually, it's probably going to be a good fight. At this point, Henry's getting older. He poses threats, but training camp's different. He's not as able to work as hard as he was before. He's obviously an animal competitor, but I think Song Yadong's starting to come into his own a little bit. I think Song Yadong's probably going to beat him up. Henry, yeah, I think he'll probably call it after that. And Uriah Faber, he's training at Team Alpha Male, so they know where Henry Cejudo's strong. They know he's going to want to over-under him, inside trip him. They know the takedowns that he really likes, and they're probably going to do a good job at staying away from those.
Mackenzie Dern avenged her loss and defeated Amanda Ribas via armbar in the 3rd round last night. The two fought back in 2019, and Amanda won via unanimous decision. After the fight, Mackenzie says she's hoping to fight for the belt by the end of the year. Zhang Weili is the current women's strawweight champion. She will be defending her title against Tatiana Suarez at UFC 312 in February.
I think just getting back into the gym, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I'm kind of someone who I put everything I can in my camp. So always when I finish the fights, I'm kind of like the person that will I want to take a rest, I want to take a break. And then that break kind of starts off with 1 week and then kind of 2 weeks. And then when you see I'm taking 1 month off, And I think that just the biggest part with this camp, was just kind of getting right back in to the gym and staying in there. And we were training when we didn't know who we were gonna fight yet, so I think that's good. You're just really kind of getting better at you first. No, I mean, I just wish them the best luck. I hope they have a great fight. I hope the best girl wins. But I'm definitely gonna be watching it, and seeing who could be maybe my potential future opponent. But yeah, I think both of them, if they saw it, I know Tatiana was there, so I mean, hopefully she saw, but I think they'll probably train a lot their defense, and I don't think we'll be too long until I'll be meeting one of them. The perfect 2025 lineup for me would be getting 2 more wins on my card, on my record, straight wins, and I don't know, I mean, getting some submissions and just building as a fighter. But I don't want to jinx myself and say the belt, because every time I talk about the belt, I've lost has come. I've always kind of gotten really close. But to be perfect world, fight for the belt by the end of the year.
Islam Makhachev seems to be open to the idea of moving up to welterweight and challenging Belal Muhammad for the title. Just last month, Khabib Nurmagomedov said he didn't like the idea of the two fighting due to how close they are with Belal. At the moment, Belal is in camp with Islam and Umar Nurmagomedov preparing for UFC 311. Khabib said it would be hard for him to prepare Islam to fight Belal.
I mean, you're okay with them fighting if that happens. It's okay, brother. I get it, man.
My heart, not okay.
Yeah.
My heart, not okay.
But
be hard
so you're gonna
Islam to beat Belal.
But if let's say hypothetically they do end up fighting. So you gotta. This is where the brothers and friends separate. You gotta be with Islam, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But if they fight, but I don't think it's ever gonna happen. But for me, it's gonna be very hard to prepare somebody to beat Belal.
Islam made an appearance on Aiden Ross's stream last night and says despite Belal being the welterweight champion, he does not want to leave the sport of MMA without achieving double champ status.
Someone wants to know, would you move to welterweight for the double champ status eventually at some point?
This is my dream, this is my dream, but we have Belal there. He's gonna defend his belt soon. But with Belal, we have same manager, Ali. We will sit and talk, This is my dream to be double champ, I don't want to leave this sport before I take second belt.
Gotcha. He's going for that second belt.
At UFC Vegas 101 last night, Victoria Dudakova lost to Fatima Klein via TKO in the second round. After the fight, while still in the octagon, Victoria slapped one of her coaches. The altercation was translated on X. Victoria said, "You didn't even come over. You just sat there. That's how little you cared." Dana White gave an update on whether or not they will be forced to move UFC 311. Right now, UFC 311 is taking place at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, not far from areas that have been heavily impacted by wildfires. Dana says at the moment, the Intuit Dome remains the plan. However, if the fire gets worse and they do have to relocate, UFC 311 will be moved to Vegas.
Well, if the fire gets bad, we're coming to Vegas.
You're doing the card at Vegas?
Yeah, we'll move it to Vegas if it gets too bad. But as of now, it's all a go. NBA's going to go this week. We're going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's in reference to Jorge Masvidal dropping the influencer with a body shot. It's from Mad at Max 300 Blackout. It says, "I'll never understand why people think they can play with Masvidal, like he wasn't doing the backyard bare knuckle fights under Kimbo at 18 years old." The second one's in reference to Dominic Cruz's hatred for Keith Peterson. It says, "Don't forget, Keith Peterson allowed Chandler to get away with tons of shots to the back of the head of Oliveira. Cruz was right all along." And the final one's from Michael McConnell. It's in reference to Colby Covington saying he'll easily beat Belal Muhammad. It says Colby needs to worry about whatever prelim fighter he's fighting next. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.